Voila. Good morning. Good morning to another episode of the Hosting House. It'll be a podcast when I put it up on Podbean. Right now, it's just a video, but welcome just the same. Welcome just the same. We should be streaming at the YouTube channel, which is Robin Holstein. My Facebook channel, which is also Robin Holstein, is Robin A. Holstein, and Holstein House on Facebook. And what I have found for some reason, and I haven't been able to fix it, is that my personal Facebook page doesn't like to share comments through StreamYard. And I have tried going in and punching little things here, there, and yon, telling it it's okay, making it public and all those things, and it just doesn't seem to work for me. I'm missing something. Maybe I don't have a high enough account with StreamYard. Maybe I need to go up one level, which financially is right now is not going to happen. Or there may be another setting that I'm missing. I just don't know. So if you are watching on my personal Robin A. Holstein Facebook page and you make a comment, I might not see it if I don't flip over there. And if it's something that you really need me to see right away, something that you feel is really important, then you need to do that either on the YouTube page or the Holstein House Facebook page. And be sure and like and share and all of those things, subscribe to channels and such things. So today I was going to talk to you. The podcast is going to be episode 29, and I'm going to stop talking here for about 5 seconds or 8 maybe to cause a break in the audio so that I can find that and I can chop this beginning off of the audio and just drop it in, and it'll be okay for the podcast. I don't it's easy to do. It just takes a little time and fighting with bandwidth and software and PCs and all those things. But so right now I'm going to take about a 5-second or so break, a quiet spell. Just hang in there, and that will give me the audio break where I can just go in and clip this very beginning off, and then we'll go. Because there's I think with Facebook, there's a 20 or 30-second delay when you start, and then there's a few seconds delay during the live feed. And it kind of makes sense because it's going from the processing software on this laptop over the Wi-Fi to the router, from the router to StreamYard, from StreamYard out. I mean, 20 seconds is not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, here, hang on 5 seconds. Okay, it was a little more than 5. All right, so today we're going to talk about, if we have enough time, because sometimes I get long-winded and squirrel, over there, squirrel, change of direction, change of focus, and then I have to bring myself back in. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the columns and the brackets. I know some of you guys are probably getting a little tired of that, but it's still a thing I got to still fix. Some sports ball comments. Out with the Saturn, in with the Jetta, the price of eggs, and maybe a few other things if we have some time. So this will be episode 29 of the Holstein House podcast. And for those of you listening on Fountain, I premiered the podcast on fountain.fm, and I do appreciate your support through sharing Satoshis. Some folks like to say tip. Yeah, I kind of don't like to say tip, but if that's if that's a vernacular you're more familiar with and more comfortable with, more power to you. We like to say share, value for value. If something that I say is of entertainment value, of educational value, of even boredom value, I will pay you to shut up. there you go. Go ahead and drop us some Satoshis. And you might get a little bit of them back, because when you do that, I encourage you to leave a comment. And most of the time, I respond back to the comment. So, I mean, maybe a little slow. I may not see it for a day or so. They've changed the Fountain app, which is good. I'm not complaining, but I'm still trying to figure it out as well. But we do stream. I use Podbean to combine everything and upload it to the Fountain.fm app. And I also upload it to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast. Of course, Podbean has it. Spotify's supposed to have it. Amazon Music, TuneIn, and iHeart. One called Player. I don't know what it is. I've never fooled with it, but it's supposed to stream there. Listen Notes and Samsung. So you should be able to find it and play it back later if you use any of those podcasting apps. And I hope you will. I hope you'll subscribe to it. I hope that the bigger part of it, it's more valuable than it's not, because I know it's like everything else. Not everything I say, and maybe not a lot of it, is pertinent to a lot of people, but sometimes it is. So you want to be there. So I hope you will clip and boost and share and subscribe and thumbs up and all of those things. Hit that little bell for notifications when the next one comes up, depending on what application you're participating in. So I think I have all that out of the way. It's called call to action. I'm not very good with them, but yeah, do these things. Okie dokie. Let me shuffle my pages around here. And, oh, there's one. Oh, it may be working. Okay. Well, anyway, so some of you know that the porch columns on the front of the house were rotting, and we had, after the freeze and thaw over Christmas, we had a substantial collapse of one, or collapse of part of one. It was really bad, and so we got that repaired. So the porch is now level, and the columns are correct. They're the architectural. They're architectural composite. They should last the rest of the house. I mean, the house should, as long as the house is here, those columns should be here. They won't rust. Gosh, rot. But we're going to reuse the handrails. I think that's the plan right now. And the rails had been screwed directly into the post. Well, you can get handrails now that have these brackets, and we got brackets at Home Depot. Oh, at the same time we got the columns, but the columns came from Lowe's. But I went and I was going to put the brackets on the rails, and I was going to start that process of putting them back up. And the brackets are made wrong. They're not the same shape as the top of the rails that we have out here, so they didn't fit properly. They should fit snugly, like your hand over your hand like that, but they don't. They don't come close. It's probably a one of those things where, like, Lowe's carries certain types of these things, and Home Depot carries a different type of these things. And so, if I can find them at Lowe's, I may have to order them, but I'm going to try to stop by there today. I have to go into town today to do some deposits and stuff. So I'm going to look over at Lowe's and see if I can find those. I really don't want to just, like they were before, directly screw them into the posts. And it's just because the brackets are made so that they fit the curve of the post. Or the column, if you're going from the handrail to that column, you're trying to butt a fairly straight surface to a curve. And so you get this, and so you get water collecting in here and stuff. And these rails, they're still wood. But so I'd like to find those. It's just a matter of going out and looking for them. And I was hoping to get that done this week. I'm not sure if I will or not. The weather's supposed to be sort of kind of fair. Um, some rain, but fairly warm, like 50s and 60s through the day, and I think that would be fine. But um, I want to try. I really wanted to get that done this week. I just don't know if I'll be able to. It's rainy today. It is. Oh, I don't know. It's at least up in the 40s now. Let me see. Will this little thing pop up and tell me what the temperature is? I hate this little thing, but it says it's 49 outside and rainy. So Wednesday looks fair. Tomorrow looks fair, but we do have Bibles and brunch in the morning. So that'll tie me up till at least noon because I'll go over early and set up and get the food and everything put out. And Mary, not by myself, Mary and Omi, and then will help me with that. But then we've got roughly an hour. So we've got like a 15-minute video or so. And then we got chatter time afterwards. So, and then clean up. So I just figure, 11:15, 11:30, noon, I'll be back home. So I would have to find them today in order to do that, or I have to go look for them tomorrow. But and then Saturday. So tomorrow it's supposed to be close to 60. Saturday it's supposed to be up about 49, but less of a chance of rain. Now I'm working on the porch. It's not the big deal. The big deal is that the handrails are going to be wet. They're probably going to be wet anyway, unless I bring them up on the porch and they wouldn't have time to dry. So I know that the rails need to be at the top of the rails need to be at 36 inches. I can measure. That's not a problem measuring them. I just hope they are. I think they're going to be because I think they're pretty standard handrails. And I just, I can adjust that height. The thing that I'm more worried about is getting them level. And the previous people who lived here had shims under them because they looked like they were sagging in the middle. And I don't know if that's related to them fastening the handrails directly to the columns or if the rails actually were sagging. I would like to think they weren't actually sagging because they were made for that purpose. But the shims were still there when we bought the house, and I'd like to think I don't need those because I want to be able to sweep things off the porch, without it. Things would catch on those. Plus, those rails felt like they were kind of low. It was hard to sweep. Like leaves would blow in after a storm or something. You go to sweep them and then they'd hang up. It felt kind of low. So I'm going to try to adjust that and see what happens. But I have to go get those brackets. Hopefully they'll have them at the Lowe's store. Oh, I could probably. Well, no, not yet. Talking to myself while I'm doing this. So I am looking for someone to help me around the house. A couple years ago, it was pre-COVID. I had a lady that would come in, usually just once a week, but every now and again it would be twice a week. I thought I had the notification. Do I have to turn the notifications off on each of those? I bet I do. Mute for 1 hour. Oh, that one's muted. See, I'm still learning all these. I have mute for an hour. I have an account with Telegram, and so far it's been fine. I'm not complaining. I just am still also learning on the fine points of using it as well. And I knew I didn't have to shut it off. I knew I could mute it, but I thought when you muted one, it muted all of them, but it didn't. So I just did that, muted that. So I don't know if you heard that or not. So I'm still looking for somebody to help me out once or twice a week. Like I said, like I started saying, the the woman that was helping me before came in on Tuesdays and on occasion Fridays, depending on how many guests we had. And all she did, or all I asked her to do, was sweep, steam, because I have a steamer. I don't like to use mops and bucket because the floors are the original wood. I know people think don't steam those, but I would rather them be steamed than soaked with mop water. Um, Steam the floors and dust. And once you get the hang of it, if you're not having to stop and do stuff, if you can just get started and go all the way through, it take you less than an hour to do the downstairs, or maybe right at an hour. But so I have a price, that I'm going to pay. I think it's a very fair price, assuming that it would take someone 2 hours. Then, if you get it done in an hour, you get the same pay. So let's just, for this example, say $10. Let's say I'm paying $10 um, for the full, for ever how long it takes you to clean. If you clean it in an hour, it's $10 an hour. If it takes you 3 hours, it's it's $3 and 33 cents an hour. But I'm not paying 10. I'm paying more than 10. Just that was just for the example. So if it takes you 2 hours to do it, you can call it half of that for the hour. But it's project based, so it's just a flat fee and just some help here at the house. So I had someone reach out to me and ask me why I didn't make that a public plea. I had put it on Facebook just to friends. And the reason that I did it that way is because in the past I have done that. I've put it out there. I've even used, like, through Holstein House, the Holstein House Facebook page, an advertisement for help. And what I ended up getting was people who probably could, I'm not giving a background test, but probably couldn't pass a background test. And probably couldn't pass a drug screen either. Um, I I'm looking. I need someone that has decent references from people that I trust, and I'm gonna. It's gonna be a cash job, So it's not like if I pay someone with a service, they're gonna bill me by the hour, and then that person's not gonna make as much. So I'm trying to do it that way. I've even had people scheduled to come over and talk to me and look at the house to see, because it's just the downstairs, it's not the upstairs, it's not the guest room or anything. It's just the first floor, it's not the basement. Nobody be going down in the basement or anything like that. And then they don't show up. They just don't show up. So, or get upset when I say I may have you take a background check because I reserve the option of doing that. Well, why do I need a background check? Well, because I have things in my house and I need somebody that's going to be trustworthy. And if you're afraid of a background check, well, there you go. It's possible that I would have someone, depending on how well it works, how often this person wants to work. If they wanted to come in more than once a week, if they wanted to come in after each of the guests or something like that, then we're talking employment service. I wouldn't be putting you on a payroll myself. I would send you to an employment service like an Express Employment or Manpower or one of those. You'd sign up with them. I'd work a contract out with them. They would cover your workers' comp. They would cover all your taxes. They would take all your payroll costs out. I would pay them a flat fee. They would pay you by the hour, and we would work it that way. But if it's just once a week, on occasion, or occasionally more often or something like that, it would, we could do business together that way. But it's really hard. It's hard to find good people. Uh, so I'm putting all my Christmas stuff away. At least I thought I was. And I don't know if you're like me on these things. I uh, I always forget something. Always forget something. And I ended up there's 5 different things that I didn't get put away this time, and they're not tiny things that I can just stuff in a drawer or in a little tiny box. Um, I found well, no, the one I knew because I don't have anything for it. It is a creche. It is a little ceramic. They're little ceramic figurines, and I knew the stable and stuff. I need a box for it. It was out in the building, just sitting there, and I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to use this. Okay. So I need a box for it. I might have one. I might, but I have to go get it out of the basement to bring it up. And then I'm going to have to mark it very well and pack everything up, which is fine. And I have a sign. It's not an expensive sign. But it's pretty big, and it's a white background with gold lettering. It says "We wish you a Merry Christmas" and a few other little sayings on it, and that just sets out pillows. I have some pillows that I didn't get put back in or put back up. Um, let's see, there was a couple other things. Oh, a couple of door hangers. I always forget those kind of things, and they're they're right there in my face. Little things that that hang off the door. The hangers are on the door, and then you've got this little thing, plaque or something, and one of them says "All friends are welcome," but it's Christmassy and it's got the pine wreaths and stuff, and um, um, and so I've got those to put away. I mean, and just oddball little things. Do, 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 do. I know you wanted to hear about that. So I'm still finding stuff. Every now and again, I am. I'm still struggling with some fatigue. I am going to be walking again. When I got up this morning, it was kind of sleety, so I'm not going out in that, especially in the dark. So I'll be doing some walking today as I do some shopping. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but as I'm looking around the store, Lowe's is a pretty good sized store, and I will circle it a couple times before I find what I need. I never find what I need there. Yay, there's the clock. The clock is off, by the way, by about 5 minutes. I was going to, so, okay. Mr. Holstein has a beater car, that he drives to work. It's a 2000 Saturn, gold four-door thing. Um, and it's on its final journey. It had belonged to my niece. He did a lot of work to it. He bought it from her. He did some more work to it. He's been driving it back and forth to work to save on his truck because he has a Ram. And of course, the Ram uses more gas, and he wants to keep the mileage down on it. He loves it's a great truck. I don't blame him, one bit. Well, he's been looking for, he said a year. I don't think it's been quite a year that he mentioned it. Now, he may have been looking for it before he mentioned it to me, but he's been looking for a little VW or a Volkswagen. It doesn't have to be a VW, but a diesel Volkswagen, particularly a Jetta. And he managed to find one. It's been months that I know of. All last summer he was talking about it. Could have been a year now, I think, but it's been at least 8 months, 9 months that he's mentioned it to me. Well, he finally found one down in Hamlin, and Hamlin is roughly an hour's drive from where we are. So he went down there on Saturday and bought this crazy thing. And it's just black. It's just a little black car, but it's a diesel. He wanted a diesel. It's a 2012, so it's 12 years newer than the Saturn, but it's the same age as my Fiat. And my Fiat is just about to see the last days. She's starting to act up a little bit. Mr. Holstein doesn't want to work on the engine anymore because the engine's not much bigger than this laptop computer I'm sitting in front of. And it goes through valves. It burns is it the number one cylinder one valve? I think that's the one. It burns that thing up all the time. He's put two of them in there since we bought it. We bought it in 2012. No, I didn't buy it in 2012. I bought it before COVID. It was 2019. I bought it in 2017, I think. So I had it a couple years before. See, it wasn't new when I bought it, so it was up there. And it had quite a few miles on it, and I just love that little car. It zips all over the place. But I was using it for my notary signing agent work. Sometimes I'd be driving to Beckley, Bluefield, Huntington, and putting high revs on that engine, and it just started carrying on one day. And I come in and I said, "You got to put that little reader thing on that car and tell me what's wrong with it." And he started fooling around with it, and he said, "There's no compression on cylinder one." And I said, "Well, I don't know what that means." And he said, "I got engine work to do." Oh, bless his heart. He had to do that through the winter that year. And then it did it again. And it took us forever to find the parts. I mean, it was really hard for us to get parts for that dumb little car. And this was before all the supply chain craziness. So it just uh it was just dumb. So he's seen somewhere a little VW Rabbit, and he said that he might consider getting it. And I thought, well, why if you're getting the Jetta? And he said he was gonna get it and let me have the Jetta. And I said, well, what if I want the because this is the more it's a newer. It might also be a 2012, but it's a newer VW Beetle that he's looking at. And I said, what if I want the Beetle? And he said, well, so I think he wants to drive the Beetle. But he's on this diesel kick. I'm all right. It doesn't matter to me. He's the one that has to work on them when they break. So, but he's on a diesel kick. Oh, but he drove the Jetta today. I knew he was wanting to. I got to go to the DMV, and I got to get a hold of the insurance company too. But let's see. Oh yeah. Um. So the ducks haven't. So I've got, for those of you who may not know, and I know several of you do know, I have 7 chickens, laying hens, and I have um, 2 female ducks and a drake. I had, at one time I had 3 females, and one of them died last fall. And then I had originally had 8 chicks, but one of them didn't make it overnight. So one of them was in pretty sad shape when I brought it home. I just didn't realize it. But anyway, so I've been watching the prices of eggs like everybody else. Now I've got some people who are um, reliable customers for my eggs, and this time of year they're not well. They're starting to come back, but this time of year they don't lay like they usually do, unless you artificially light the coop so that they have 12 to 14 hours of daylight. It's the change in the season that causes them to do that. You can force them to lay their eggs early by keeping your coops lit, but I don't do that. It's not that important to me. I'm not living off of those of what money I can bring in on those eggs. But the ducks haven't laid well for a while. And so when I was at the tractor store Saturday, I picked up some actual duck feed. Now, normally I just feed them it's generically called all feed. It's for all laying hen and birds. But I think if I remember correctly, it's only like 16 or 18% protein. Well, the duck feed, the actual duck feed, is 20%, and I know protein in the diet is a big deal for egg production. So normally I get some of the dehydrated fly larvae, and I throw down a little bit every day, just maybe a handful every day to increase their protein. And especially this time of year, obviously there's not that many bugs in the ground and things for them to get. So I try to boost their protein about this time of year. But I was able to get that. They don't want to eat it, so it's driving me crazy. Uh, the females are getting up there in age. I know the pekin is one of my original birds, and she's around 4. The other one is a khaki Campbell. I don't know exactly how old she is, but she's between 2 and 3. She was given to me a family that was renting a house for my father, bought their kids a bunch of ducks and chickens. He threw together a coop that was not predator resistant at all. And he went out hearing noise in the night, in the dark, and found raccoon devastating his flock. A a um, a khaki Campbell looking female duck and a drake was all that managed to make it, and I adopted them. So the khaki Campbell has laid fairly well all along. The pecans, even when they were young, were kind of hit and miss even after they got started, really good. So, I might get one day and two the next. It was always hit and miss, but um, I had customers for them as well. I like duck eggs. Mr. Holstein gets a stomach ache from them. So even if I put them in like pancake mix, he'll get a stomach ache. So there's something about the proteins in the duck egg that his stomach just doesn't like. So it was hard. I don't eat that many eggs. Uh, so it was hard when I had all three of the ducks producing fairly regular and trying to deal with all those eggs. And I did find a couple customers that would buy them. Then the ducks started not laying as often. So I'm trying to increase their production a little bit by giving them some protein, some higher protein feed, and see if that's going to help them at all. But truth be known, they may be up past their production age. Oh, that's cruel. Roasting the duck. Oh, oh, I'm looking at I'm looking at the Telegram feed talking about the question came from um, Josh, the Renegade Butcher, about how close are you to your meat source, and he's been doing a question of the day. If you're on the YouTube, look up Renegade Butcher. I don't know if he uses the in front of it, but if it's the Renegade Butcher, if it's just Renegade Butcher, but look him up. He's got some good stuff there. Um, but he's been doing a question of the day. Oh, he's also on that TikTok stuff. So his question of the day today had to do with being close to your meat source, and meaning your beef or your pork or your chicken or whatever. And I was sharing that we've been ordering uh, uh, pigs and beef, or hog and beef. I know there's a difference. I know it's significant to people who raise them. It's not significant to me. But anyway, our pork, let me just say pork, and our beef from a coworker of Mr. Holstein's. But he actually lives across the border in Ohio. Of course, Wayne works in Mason County right there. And so he orders these from DJ, and then the butcher is up there near DJ, which is fine when Wayne's at work. Which, like next week, I think next week or the week after, we get the pork this year. So DJ will he's already taken it to the butcher along with other stuff, because he raises them and he gets them done for people. And so then he'll bring it from the butcher to the breaker shop, and Wayne will bring it home from the breaker shop. So now last year, Wayne had shoulder surgery, so he was off work. And we ended up having to drive to the butcher, which basically defeated any savings we may have had, but we had the pork. So Josh was suggesting, I was talking about the hens, and how we do that. And he said, well, consider rabbits. And I have thought about rabbits. I just don't know that I could do what needs to be done to put a rabbit in the freezer. And meat birds, which are different than layers, because they're genetically bred to grow and mature in just a few weeks. I mean, it's like they're grown, and I guess I could do what needs to be done for a meat bird. So they're going through the chat talking about fixing chicken, and Somebody's got I don't know if it's a chicken or not. It looks kinda like duck to me, but on a spit over a roast. So maybe, add a little maple leaf, pattern, miniature. Oh, they're just being mean. They're they're just being mean. But, I guess I would could I had to take care I had a bird that was sick, and I had to take her out. I had a chicken that was sick, and I had to take her out. And it was one of the hardest things to to do. I mean, I got it done, and then I was just upset all day, because it it just was terrible. I don't like the idea of taking a life regardless. So it was just very difficult that I had to do that. But well, with the feed, the chickens have access to that feed too. So if it helps them, great. Two of my green egg layers, and I don't know which one because I don't see them do it, are laying again, hit and miss. Uh, One of my brown egg layers is laying. One of them went through. She was broody last year, and she hasn't been right since. And I had that happen with another bird of mine that would go broody, but she'd go broody. She hadn't laid eggs in I don't know how long, and then she'd go broody. So I don't know if if I have missed something critical with the hens that if they go broody, they'll quit laying. I mean, at all, not just during that period of time, that they're going broody. She never actually, I don't think she ever actually laid another brown egg. I don't know when the last time I got two brown eggs in a day was. That's the question. That's why I'm questioning it. And the other one didn't. I don't think she went broody. I don't think she went broody at all. But I've got three green egg layers, two brown egg layers, and my leghorns. And my leghorns are molting now. Bless, they look so terrible. Oh my gosh, they look awful. Hopefully they'll come up out of that soon. It shouldn't be too much longer. But I was doing the math on my feed bill yesterday, and it was just one of those squirrel moments. I was doing other stuff, and I'm like, exactly how much am I putting into these birds to get um, a dozen eggs out of them? And of course, right now in the winter where they're not laying as much, it's way out of whack. I mean, it's just way out of whack. But in the summer, they lay, really regular. Well, this is probably the last summer they'll do that. They'll probably it's time to start planning to cycle out some of the birds. So you bring in a few to replace the few, so that by the time they're laying, these other ones you're going to take out. You're going to cull, as they say. Um, but I was doing the math on that, and I'm seeing people post these outrageous amounts of on how much a dozen eggs cost at at the box store, and I thought there's something not right here because I don't think we're being charged here in the Kanawha Valley the same rate some of the folks in other parts of the country are, because I'm seeing people showing that they're paying $5 and $6, $7 and $8 a carton for a dozen eggs. I don't I don't see that here. Maybe I'm missing it because I'm not focused on it. But I just I don't see that. So I started doing the math on the chickens and the duck and the feed and estimating how much feed you give them, because I don't go measuring it out. But, I know about how much I'm feeding them every day and about how much they're eating every day, and the supplements that I'm giving them, like with the dehydrated fly larvae and stuff like that, and then the cost of the straw and the cost of the um, pine shavings and stuff that go in the coop um, for their bedding, which is, you don't do that every day, but you do have to get it. And I I've been asking $3 a dozen for a long time on my eggs, and I am now not even able to break even at $3 a dozen. So as soon as the girls are functioning well enough for me to reliably have a dozen eggs again, um, I'm going to have to increase it. And I really don't want to increase it on anybody, but I am going to have to increase it. So if you have ever bought eggs from me by the dozen before, it's going to have to be $4. It's going to have to be $4 a dozen. Um, it's just got to the point where I have to. I have to raise it. And I just and that's even with not counting that they're eating a lot now and not producing much. So I'm counting it as if they're still eating it. I'm not saying, okay, they stopped laying every day back in October and counting up the weeks and the feed and all that because basically they're freeloading. Uh, I some people say, oh well, the manure, this, that, and that. Yeah, I'm not going to dig up the run to do that. And they do run loose in the yard. They do free range, so they are contributing that way. But I just it's just going to have to go up. So, and then somebody else, a friend that was talking about the cost of eggs in the store, and somebody chimed in, said it was the cold weather. The cold weather done. Well, it's not. It could not be cold weather, and as long as it's dark the way it is, they're still going to cut back, unless you artificially light the coop, and that's just a fact of nature. So it's not the cold. It's not the cold that does it. They're the photo. I think it's photogen. It's not photogenic, but it's the light. It's the amount of light that's available. Um, and then somebody else said, "Well, it's a particular political party," and the egg shortage is not because of a particular political party. I'm going to tell you, the egg shortage is directly related to um, weather conditions, flooding, heat, flooding, drought, and that kind of stuff. But more important, and the avian flu. Bird flu will devastate um, an entire flock. You can have 10, you can have 10,000. One of them gets a bird flu, and you're about going to lose all of them, unless you've got some extra hardy birds. And that stuff is so highly contagious. When I worked for the State Conservation Agency, and in other states in the United States, it's often called the Soil and Water Conservation Agency, but I was working there from 2000 to 2007, and when I was there, every year there was an issue with bird flu. Every year. Sometimes it would just wipe out an entire poultry farm, and sometimes it would just be a little small farm isolated, you know. But wild birds can carry that virus, and you feed and I'm guilty of it too. You feed your wild birds, and then you've got your chickens or your ducks or whatever, turkeys or whatever you've got over here, and these wild birds do carry diseases that your poultry can pick up, and it can devastate them. And that there was a tremendous amount of birds lost, and so that throws that whole cycle off, because a bird that's born in, let's say, March isn't going to start laying until August or September or October. And sorry about that. uh, so you are going to have a big gap. Plus, you've got to now take birds that are laying, and you've got to incubate eggs. You've got to take eggs out of the cycle for the ones that are producing, and you've got to raise more birds, incubate more birds to give to sell to the people whose flocks have been devastated. So there's going to be this big gap. And it's not any particular political party's fault. I know some people don't like to hear me say that, but that's just how that is in this case. Supply chain is a whole different animal, but when it comes to bird flu devastating the flock out there, man, you can't. It's just one of those things you can't stop and you can't inoculate against. So, but this time last year, there were a lot of us telling you guys that you need to start stocking up. You need to start getting ready. You need to be ready. You need to be ready. And I'm a Thrive Life consultant. I haven't done a lot of promoting on that, but I was telling you guys this. You need to consider all your options. And I shared with you that, I home can, I home dehydrate, and I have some home dehydrated stuff, and I have some stuff in the freezer. I have a diversity of stuff. So, and I was trying to encourage all you guys too. So you just gotta step up. You got to get ready. And if it's not a natural disaster like a tornado come over and just destroyed everything you had, if it's just because the power's been out for a couple days, or because the water's been off for a couple days. Remember, we've had it here in the Kanawha Valley. We've had a derecho that had some people without electricity for a couple weeks. And that was just a windstorm. We had the water crisis a few years ago where that chemical was leaked that leaked into the water, and the governor said, "Oh, nobody can drink the water, and you shut it off." And it bothered some people. It bothered their skin. They were very sensitive to it. Some people it didn't bother at all. It didn't bother me at all. But we were told, don't drink it. Well, you got to have some kind of contingency, and that one went on. How I don't remember. I don't remember how long that one went on, but it went for a long time. It seemed to me like it was a month or more. But you got to be ready for this stuff, folks, and you can't always blame somebody else for it. If you're not prepared for it, it's not my fault. So if a tornado goes over your place and tears everything up, that's not the same thing as the electric being off and you not being ready for that. So you got to be ready. Nobody's going to do it for you. And the government's not going to be there. Not right away. Well, emergency crews like that, but I mean, as far as housing and food and clothes and stuff like that, it's not going to be right away. And the Red Cross has only got so many people, and the other non-governmentals have only got so many people to go around. I am going to be working. This is a little off script here. I am going to be working on get home bags, and I will try to do a video. I'll plan to do. I won't try to. I will plan to do a video on that and show you the kind of things that I'm going to put in the bags for us. I should have already had that done. That's on me. I have all the stuff I think I need to get home in case of an emergency. I don't have it all in one place, and I didn't have backpacks, but I do have backpacks now. Actually, we had a couple and I couldn't find them. Wayne and I both had them from high school. We still had them. High school, no college. We both went to a college and got our associates about the same time, within a few months of each other. We both had backpacks, and they were both Jansen's, and they were both very good. And I don't know where I put either one of them. But I was at the thrift store here a few days ago, the Union Mission, and picked up some because I'm just tired of waiting on that. So I will walk through what all I'm going to put in mine. The idea for me may not be right for you, but the idea for me is that I'm just going to go home. If things get bad, sometimes we talk about the end of the world and the zombies and such things. But if things get bad, I won't be bugging out. I'm not going away to a farm anywhere. I will be bugging in. I will be coming home, and I will be staying at my home because that's where I need to be. And I'll share that with you there. We have an older gentleman scheduled for the B&B on March 8th, which sounds kind of thin, I know, but this was such an odd little request that popped up. It's not that we don't have anybody. It's just this is really just strange. He's coming here because his wife doesn't like to travel long distances by car. He's going to meet her at the airport in South Carolina. So he's going to stay here on his way to meet her at an airport in South Carolina, and he's going to pick her up and go wherever they're going from there. but it's just it every now and again you get one that's just kind of comical, and this one is, and it sounds like a very pleasant fella. I was sharing it with Wayne, and he says, "I'll be here, won't I?" And I said, "Yeah, you'll be here." But it's the B&B is still open. It is. It's kind of a mess right now. I really got to get the rest of it tidied up. I'm ashamed of myself. I'll let it go. But it's not that bad really, but it's more cluttered than I like to have. The calendar's open for February. For those of you who are traveling north to south, going to be going through West Virginia, maybe coming up the turnpike or going down to the turnpike, going from the Huntington area down 64 and or from the other side coming down 77, you're going to get on the turnpike. If you need a place to stop, check the calendar for Holstein House and see. If you direct book, if you go to robinholstein.com and look for the B&B bed and breakfast Holstein House in the menu, if you direct book, there are perks that you will get, like if you want, because not everybody wants, Hall's chocolate, West Virginia's own Hall's chocolates. I have a few of those for you, and Coal River coffee. We have Coal River coffee. We will hand grind it for your breakfast if you like, and that is only for our direct book guests. If you're booking through Airbnb, no, it's just not an option for Airbnb. So go to robinholstein.com again and choose Holstein House from the menu. And use the link to check your dates if you want a direct book. We've got a couple. We do have the chocolate and coffee special going through the end of March. If you're interested in how you can do a B&B from your home, I am going to be developing a series of videos on what you need to consider when you're thinking about it, and then once you do it, what all you need to do, and how very simple it is to do. It doesn't have to cost a whole lot, but it doesn't have to cost you anything. But you do want to get a few new things. You want to have new sheets. That you don't want family sheets on your guest bed like that, and towels and things. But we'll talk about all of that when I do the videos. So, I try to connect with the self-reliance and the prepper communities a little bit with Holstein House, and I know it's not a good fit. Sorry. Sorry about that. Like I said, it's about 5 minutes off, but I know that Holstein Houses and my channels and social media sites are not the best fit, because I'm not a small homestead. I'm not a big homestead. I'm not. I don't provide classes on stopping bleeding, and I do a little bit with canning and things like that, but it's not this big self-reliant prepper, setup. But I do want to be able to provide a place for you guys in between your trips. So, if you're coming down, if you're going to Self-Reliance Festival and you need a place to stay, yeah, I have a room. And it might be available if you need to stop in between. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to have you stay. I'm very eclectic about my house, my things, my life, my education, what I read. I'm very eclectic about all of those things. And the same goes for the B&B. I'm very eclectic about it. That's why it doesn't fit neatly into these little groups. So, but I can provide you a comfortable place to stay. I do think a lot like the rest of you guys. You want to avoid giving your money to corporations that will support things that you don't approve of. Well, chances are you and I think a lot alike, and that money is not going to go to those type of things. You can access Holstein House Facebook page or Holstein House through the host to book a room through the Holstein House Facebook page. There's no links on my personal profile. And I have had people reach out to me to do that. Unfortunately, it's not handicap accessible. It's a 100-year-old home. There's no elevator. There are stairs. The doors are not wide enough for wheelchairs. They're just these type of things, and it would be an insurmountable cost to retrofit this house just for one room. So unfortunately, I can't offer that at this time for guests with special needs in that manner. But I do appreciate people, thinking of us and reaching out. So again, it's episode 29. I am running a little off time. Go figure. Um, and if you like what you've heard, if you've heard something that made you stop and think, if you heard something you didn't realize before, if you thought it was something good, um, be sure to like and subscribe and share the links with your friends. And if you are in the Value for Value community, I hope you will share what you think it's worth with me. Let's see. Oh, sports ball. I told you I would talk about sports ball. Sports ball. I haven't watched much sports ball this season, but the whole kneeling thing, it's kind of over, isn't it? I stopped watching a lot of football when they started that. And it's not that I think that people are right or wrong in their opinion. The people who are doing the kneeling or not doing the kneeling, but there's always that, that you see the meme about Tim Tebow kneeling in prayer and how much flack he got for kneeling in prayer. But when people kneel in protest, we're supposed to be all excited. Yay. No, I don't think that as a consumer trying to watch a football game, I'm a captive audience to that. You're forcing that on me. And, I might otherwise support your position, but not like that. Not like that. If you take your own time, when you're doing your interviews, or when you go out, on your own time and you spend your own money and you want to protest these things, fine. But if I'm watching the game, which means I'm being counted in some of these, uh, um, oh, algorithms and stuff, Nielsen and all them are knowing that I was, so somebody somewhere is getting a kickback or getting points or getting credit or something from the fact that I'm watching a game. That's just not right. So, um, it's cliche. It's cliche, but I did notice over the weekend while we had some ball games on, we haven't watched very many at all this year. The Vikings were on, yay Vikings, and we were watching that game, and it just came to me. Wait a minute, they're not kneeling anymore, are they? Or they don't show it. Do they kneel and nobody gets to see it? Is that how it goes? And because nobody gets to see it, they're not interested. Is your prayer life that way? Talk about a squirrel and jumping off to another topic. Do you only pray in front of people? You have to have an audience to pray? I don't think so. I suspect most of you are more hesitant to pray in public than you are at home in the quiet. Um, so when there's no camera, how does the scripture go? Don't be like those who stand and say their prayers, the hypocrites, who have to be seen when they pray. Um, I don't know. I, if I have no problem with anybody protesting whatever they want to protest. Knock yourself out. But don't come in and turn my table over and expect me to sit there and take it. Don't block my road and expect me to sit there and take it. If you want to protest, you do it the right way. You get your permit to protest, you march down the street with your signs or whatever you need to do. If you're going to walk around in circles in front of a building, walk around in circles in front of the building. Do it the way it's supposed to be. Bring attention to your views on your topics the way we intend it, because we allow protest in this country. You're allowed to do it, but don't stop. Don't stand in the way of an ambulance that's trying to get somebody to the hospital. Don't take advantage of people, basically. Me, when I kneel, I pray. That's it. I don't kneel to this. I don't kneel to that. I only kneel to the Lord, and that's it. I know it's kind of, anyway. All right. So as we're getting really kind of down towards the end here, And I wanted to share with you, it's January is halfway over. January 2023 is halfway over. February is my birthday month. Now, I know that it's no big deal to most of you, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I'll turn this off. Where did it go? It should be off. Anyway, sorry about that. So February is my birthday month, and I've some of you guys know that I've been reading about and thinking about and dabbling in a little bit of Bitcoin. And when I say dabbling in Bitcoin, we're talking like I've built up maybe $8. Okay, about enough to go to Taco Bell. We're not talking $800 or $8,000. We're talking about $8 US fiat. But I want to make February my it's my birthday month. I would also want to make it my Bitcoin buy month. And so I heard Jack Spirko on his program the other day talk about it would only take a couple $100 to um, have enough Satoshis to have a million Satoshis. And then you're you're a Satoshi millionaire, or he used some kind of phrase like that. And I thought, I like that. That's good. And I, I'm going to put back some money that I have for other things that I'm getting for my notary work, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a million Satoshis, and I'm going to try to get a million Satoshis before the end of February so that I can be a Satoshi millionaire in my birthday month. I think that would be fantastic. I really want to try it. Um, and I think it would be $250. I think if I did the thing right on the Coinbase app. I may not have done it exactly right, but we'll see. Plus, it keeps going up anyway. But I'm going to have to get a wallet for this stuff and a fireproof envelope for the safe and things. But um, that's a little tiny little goal I want to try to hit by the end of the month of February. But that, of course, means I got to get my stamp. I think some of you guys have listened and heard me tell you that my notary stamp was stolen in transit from National Notary Association to me. To me. If you missed that, yeah. So I'm a notary, and in West Virginia, every 5 years, you've got to renew your commission. Well, I had to renew my commission in December. Took care of it a week early. My commission didn't expire until the 20th of December, and I took care of it the week before. Got that taken care of. Kudos to the Secretary of State's office. Make it smooth and effortless to get it done. I get a hold of National Notary. I said, got all my stuff up, got my notary commission updated. Here's a copy of all the stuff. I need to order a new stamp because your stamp is only good for that period of time. And I waited and I paid for expedited shipping, and because I didn't want to miss a beat. January 1, I wanted to be able to hit the ground running. January 1 comes and goes. Of course, there's no mail on January 1, but anyway, you know what I'm saying. So I wait like an extra week. So I get a hold of National Notary the other day, and I'm like, I don't understand. I paid for expedited, and it says it's completed. I don't have my stamp. What the heck's going on? She started looking, put me on hold for about 10 or 15 minutes, and lo and behold, the box that my stamp was mailed out in made it to Charleston, apparently, because it said something about in Charleston. And it was sent back to National Notary empty. Empty. So either the box came open and my stamp was lost, or someone opened the box and stole the stamp. But it never made it to my front porch. Never made it here at all. That's a big, hairy deal because people can use a notary stamp to forge all kinds of documents. So I have to report it to the Secretary of State's office. I'm furious. I'm absolutely furious. And I told the girl at National Notary, I said, I know you did not do this individually, but I am absolutely furious. That thing could be used to forge documents. I could be tied up into some kind of fraud for real estate or all kinds of stuff because somebody stole and I'm only just finding out. And she said, well, we only got the box back yesterday. So we would have reached out to you today. I said, it's kind of late in the afternoon for you to have been planning to reach out to me. But I also forgot that they were on the West Coast, which, all right, we'll see. But my stamp should be getting here, and as long as I don't have it, I can't work. I can't work. I can't sign anything. My stamp's on the way, but I'm notarizing this. I can't. So that's some of the money, some of the that I'm going to use for my birthday Bitcoin buy. So I'm kind of excited about to see how that's going to work, because I don't want to put. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that scream, "Oh my gosh, you're going to stay away from that." But I've been doing some reading. I don't think it's any worse than purchasing any other type of converting U.S. dollars to any other type of currency. And I could buy Russian rubles, and today you get 10 rubles for $1, and tomorrow you might get 100 rubles for $1, or it may only be half of a ruble for $1. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I know a lot of people look at it as an investment. I'm looking at it more of a conversion to funds conversion to a foreign type of money. So but I'll never go. I mean, I don't invest like that, so this is just going to be a fun experiment. And if I can I've already got a little bit of money put back from other things, so it's not like I'm going to be um, taking out a $250 out of the joint checking account to do this. No, I've got a little bit of money set aside. I'll add a little bit to it, but it's going to be from my notary work. Oh, let's see. We've been going about an hour and 15 minutes. I had some other things I wanted to discuss. I might be able to wrap them up in about 15 minutes. Let's not. I probably can. So, I'm helping out my little church that doesn't have hardly any congregants. I did I drafted a grant application the other day and presented it at our meeting, board meeting on Sunday after services, that I announced the previous Sunday that we were going to have. And I shared it with everybody. But in pulling it all together, one of the things that really struck me is during the period of COVID, we lost 2 members to death. We had 2 members die. We had 3 members that are now homebound because of illness. They can't make it to church. So that's 5. And our pastor was reassigned. Well, he wasn't reassigned. He was relieved of our church because of his health issues. He was trying to do 2 churches. He's not able to do 2 churches, and so now we're in between. And I think I've shared that with you before. So we lost him, and then there's a couple members that don't. I completed the classes. I'm running the Sunday service except for communion, and they don't like that, so they don't come. So that's like 6 members and our pastor. So that's 7 people altogether. So it leaves almost nobody there. It's really hard. But I there's a grant available that could help us reach the community, help the kids that need some volunteer hours at the high school, and just become a better member of the community. And during the process of writing this grant application, those numbers were made real to me. And then I'm counting. You have to talk about what's your community size. Well, I started counting. We've got about 100. I looked at a map, just counting buildings that I knew are homes and not like carports. So we've got like 100 single family units. We've got 3 apartment buildings that I think have 4 units each. So that's another 12. So it's like 112, 116, maybe, if I counted wrong. We can round it to 120 if you want to, just right here within walking distance of our church. But some of the numbers from a Pew Research study just were awful. So it's like only about 30% of the people who profess to being Protestant attend services at least once a month. So then it gets worse, because then it's actually, do you go every week? And the number of people that go every week are twice a month or even less. So the numbers are really low. But what I wanted to do, and it was kind of ambitious, and I'm starting to kind of think back a little bit, maybe to back off, was weekly lunches, free lunches for the community. The grant application, if we were to be given the funds, would cover the food and the supply costs for 20 people a week. If we could get 20 people a week in there, uh, just for lunch, and maybe bring some social service representatives in to talk about things like Social Security, AARP, weatherization programs, and things like that. We had done that in the past, and we're starting to make a headway. And then COVID, because that was in 2019. We finished up right before Thanksgiving, and then was going to start back up in the spring. Well, in that spring, you couldn't go out of your house. So that messed all that up. Now I'm wondering if I've overreached a little bit. We haven't submitted it. I mean, it's still drafted. We're still talking about it, but I just don't know. If I did that, it'd be like 36 weeks out of the year, and you have to do it. And there's so few of us to pull off something like that at the church right now. I wouldn't have much help. If we did it on Saturdays to get the students in to do their community service, that would help as far as bodies, and it would be greatly appreciated. But then that commits to every Saturday all summer and without a break. And I don't know if I don't know that I have the stamina to do that. We're not looking at getting a new pastor probably until July. So from now until July, I would be doing the Sunday service except for communion. I would be doing the Bible study once a week, which seems to be going okay right now. And then that. And it's just a lot for somebody who that's not their profession. But then I think, oh my gosh, we've been studying the last couple Sundays. In our service we've talked about Naomi, and then last week we talked about Moses. And they had some really hard times in their lives too, and God brought them through it. Naomi, we know she lost her husband. She's living. She goes from Jerusalem to Moab. She's living in Moab. Her husband dies. Her grown sons die. She's left there destitute because women don't generally work in that period of time, and so there's this terrible drought, and she hears that the people back home are eating okay, and so she tells her daughters-in-law, "I'm going home. I'm going back. You guys just go find your new husband." And they say no, or Ruth says no. I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to convert. I'm going to serve your God, because she was a Moabitess. She was not serving God as the way we know. Um, but and Ruth says, "Nah, you don't want to do that. I mean, if I could have if I could have another baby today, you'd be too old. You wouldn't be waiting until he grows up to be of marrying age, and then I mean that just wouldn't work. So you need to go home." She says, "No, no. Where you go, I will go. Your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. I'm staying with you." So Ruth stays with Naomi, and they get back home, and Ruth's gathering up grain, because in those days you left the corners of the field for the widows and orphans and the poor people to glean. You kind of took a square field, and you took a round piece out of it and left the corners of the field for them. So you're always leaving something for those that don't have anything. Boaz, Caesar, they fall in love. I mean, there's more to it than that. You need to read the book of Ruth. They fall in love. They get married. They have a son. That son is Obed. Obed is the grandfather of King David, who is, Christ is the direct descendant of. So Naomi goes through all these things, and the result is the pairing of Boaz with Ruth and the birth of Obed, which, goes on down the line. So God takes Naomi from these bad situations. She has her walk back home through terrible times. It's going to take her probably a week to get back home. And, she gets back there, and things turn out okay for her. Moses, we're all familiar with the big Cecil B. DeMille over the top production of the Ten Commandments. That's what a lot of people use to understand the story of Moses. It's a little different than that. Moses actually lived to be about 120 years old. In the first 40 years of his life, he was a prince of Egypt, and then he kills a man. Okay? DeMille gets that part right. He kills a man. And he buries him in the sand. Well, people figure it out, or he was seen, or something happens that there's a couple of guys fighting. Moses says, "What are you guys fighting about?" And one of them says, "What are you going to do? Kill me too?" That's the slammed together Robin's English version of that story. Read the book of Exodus. And so Moses freaks out, takes off, because the Pharaoh's going to kill him because he killed an Egyptian and buried him in the sand, and there's people that knows it, and word gets back. Anyway, so he's 40 years old when that happens. He's 40. Charlton Heston doesn't look 40 in that movie. I don't think Charlton Heston was 40 in that movie. So Moses is 40 when he starts his time in the desert, and he travels and he comes up to Midian, and he hangs out there, and he marries Zephora. He marries Zephora. He's 40 years old by then. They have a child. He spends 40 years in Midian, or with Zephora and her family. So he's 80 by the time he meets God on the mountain at the burning bush. He's 80. So he spent 40 years in the desert paying for the price of killing a man and learning. But then one thing that we don't notice, or I never noticed, we talked about it Sunday in church, in Exodus chapter 4, did you ever read this part that says that God sought to kill Moses? Oh, that wasn't in the movie. So he's traveling. This is when he's been before the burning bush. God has tasked him with, getting the slaves out of Egypt, and he's on his way back. He's staying somewhere at an inn, or I forget what phrase they used, but he's staying there, and God's about to take his life. And Zephra circumcises their older son, or circumcises a son, which is probably oh shoot. See, I'm talking about this, and Gershom. Gershom's the name I'm trying to think of. Lord have mercy. So it was probably Gershom. Gershom's the firstborn. Moses hasn't circumcised him. That was the command of God to Abram. As a sign of my covenant, you will circumcise your sons. This guy had to be grown, unless Moses still got a new baby. And I kind of don't think so at that age. I mean, even Zephra would have been 40 years old, so I don't think she would have been having a new baby. But at any rate, she circumcises one of Moses' sons, places the tissue at his feet, and God doesn't kill him. So in studying that, it appears that Moses wasn't actually completely following the law. And so he didn't circumcise. So he was getting ready to go free these people for God, who he wasn't actually properly serving. And so this all gets righted, and he goes and he frees the slaves, and he spends another 40 years leading them before he goes to the mountains and probably dies. We don't know. We just know that he was taken to, but he knows where his body was buried. Don't know how he died, where he died, nothing. He walks away from it all. God takes him home. So here is Moses. And the point of this is Moses is going through, he's 40 years old, and he kills a man, and he pays for it over the next 40 years in the desert, cleansing him. And we know Christ went to the mountain and cleansed, and sought and got away from people for a period of time. And we all need that. We all need periods of cleansing. And then Moses goes on to lead the people out of Egypt. Now, I don't have any delusions about leading people out of Egypt. I get this. My thing is, how much am I supposed to take on? I feel that we need to have this program at the church. I just don't know if should it be every week? Is that too much? Is it going to be exhausting to everybody, or is that exactly what it needs to be? So I got to pray about that some more. I have got to pray about that some more and listen, because it doesn't do us any good to pray for something and then not listen to the answer. Sometimes we don't like the answer. Sometimes the answer is going to scare us. So there you go. Oh, so I'm going to start wrapping it up. If you are traveling and coming this way, and if you want to pay with satoshis, people say pay with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin right now is around 21,000 US dollars each. You want to give me a Bitcoin? Oh yeah, we can do that. But no, what you'd be doing would be paying with portions of a Bitcoin called satoshis. If you want to do that, if you want to do that, just message me, and let me know, and we can work something out on the rate. I was trying to do the math on how many satoshis it would be to give it, it's the rate of the room. If I gave you a discount to begin with, and how many satoshis, that's a big number. It's not that much, but it's a big number. But if you want to do that, we can work that out. So this is going to be a wrap. So the Holstein House podcast, has twice been in the Fountain.fm top 50 podcasts. It's been a little while, but we were there. I've got the video, the screenshot to prove it. So I was thrilled to do it at the time. I'd love to be able to do it again. It's just so much fun to see it there. It may only last a day, it may only last an hour or so, but we were there. And if you haven't gone to sleep yet, because there are some people who like to go to sleep listening to the podcast, I don't know if that's because it's so boring or what, or if it just sounds like mom talking to you, reading the Bible till you go to sleep, If you're still awake, let me share one final round of supporters, because usually what I do on my podcast is when I announce the people who have supported me with Satoshis, I have a little sound that I drop in of cheering and to thank them for that. And so here is the round for today. HJ shared 550 sats and says he doesn't trust Bill Gates. Well, the same thing here, my friend. I don't trust him either. The same thing here. Euphrosynos gave 500, which I really appreciate that, Euphrosynos. I'm glad that you're still hanging in there as well. And user number 677-858-405-433-2462 gave 100. I appreciate it all. I wish you would just get a name. Just get a name. Don't make me do user number 6 blah 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 blah. Just get a name. It's all right. Your continued support while I stumble through all of this is greatly appreciated. It really is. We premiered on the Fountain Network, and if you found me on Fountain, I hope you'll boost, clip, and share. If you're on the YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on the Facebook, like and share. All of those things so that word can get out and we can have better conversations. And I'm looking forward to meeting up with you again. Probably next Tuesday. I got to look at the calendar, make sure I don't have appointments scheduled. I got one coming up pretty soon for the dentist, and I can't remember which day it is. But I'll probably do just a straight up podcast for those of you who've been watching on the live feed. That will probably be Thursday or Friday and probably go up over the weekend. Now, I can post stuff. Let's say I hit post I hit post at 11:30 today. On Fountain, it may take a few hours before it actually populates. So it is entirely possible that something that you've commented or said I've actually addressed, and you won't hear it for a while. But I thank you again for sharing your time with me. I'm sorry I went over. It's just, that's how I do. I just can't. This is why I can't TikTok. I just can't condense this stuff down into 30-second clips. It's crazy. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for all the support that you've given to me out there in podcast land. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.